This particular lieutenant, equipped with a combi weapon, is known to be a resolute survivor and a last surviving member of his group sent down to a planet to investigate. This is, of course, just the story behind the model itself, but you could use any lieutenant model you want, so long as they got a combi weapon. Hello everybody, my name is Spoons Rattling, and today we are covering the lieutenant with combi weapon datasheet for the Space Marines. So, the lieutenant with combi weapon comes in at 70 points for a relatively standard stat line of movement 6 inches, toughness 4, 3 plus save, 4 wounds, leadership 6 plus, and OC 1. Well, this is a little pricey for the stats you get. That's not necessarily all he has. In terms of ranged weapon, he of course has his combi weapon, which is rapid fire 1, devastating wounds, anti-infantry 4 plus, 1 attack that hits on 3s, at 24 inch range, strength 4, AP 0, and damage 1. A fairly weak profile, though I guess with devastating wounds there is the off chance you could chip a wound off of a tank with no way for them to save it. And then he has his paired daggers in melee, which are anti-infantry 4 plus, which makes them pretty good against infantry. Well, they would be. They're efficient at wounding. With sustained hits 1, it has 5 attacks that hit on 2s at strength 4, AP 0, and damage 1. This is mainly let down by its AP. Aside from that, it is quite good against units that rely on their toughness to keep themselves alive. Things like orcs or knobs will really not want to get hit by this. Then he has a few core abilities, being Infiltrators, Feel No Pain 5 plus, Lone Op, and Stealth, which means he can't be shot outside of 12 inches, and if you can't shoot at him, he has -1 to hit. Then he has a 5 plus Feel No Pain, which is a very solid, nice little defensive buff. And then Infiltrators allows him to set up almost anywhere on the board, except outside 9 inches of the enemy deployment zone. Then his actual abilities are Priority Target. At the start of the first battle round, you select one objective. Each time a friendly Astartes unit targets an enemy on that objective, reroll a wound roll of 1. Then he has Evade and Survive. When an enemy unit ends a move within 9 inches of this model, once per turn this model can move 6 inches if it is not within engagement range. Then he also can't be your Warlord, just as a flavor rule, I suppose. This is actually pretty solid in terms of abilities. While his damage is fairly forgettable, it doesn't do too much, despite being very good at wounding all kinds of infantry. His damage is not really his main goal. The main goal is his lone operative, so he's really hard to shoot. He can't be shot at range. And then his evade and survive means that if someone gets close enough, he can just jump behind a line of sight obscuring terrain, or just jump out of lone operative range. And then, of course, his buffing rule is quite good. It's technically an army-wide damage buff. If you mark an objective, and you mark the enemy unit on it for Oath of Moment, you have a really, really solid damage buff with rerolling all hits and rerolling ones to wound, which is always super useful no matter the weapon. He is pretty dang cheap at only 70 points, so really there's not too much that he needs to do aside from that. There is another combo you can do with him, surprisingly enough, despite the fact that he's sort of this lone wolf survivor type. If you pair him with one of the Primarchs, he can give them the bodyguard protection while being a lone operative himself, meaning they really can't shoot at your Primarch or their bodyguard at all, because they're very unlikely to be within 12 inches. This is, of course, just a sort of solid thing to do, and if you're bringing a Primarch, I'd say he's definitely worth the 70-point increase. Overall, his damage is low, but his buffs and abilities are very strong. I highly recommend bringing one if you need some sort of jack-of-all-trades objective grabber that can hang around the board. I've been Spoons Rattling. Hope you enjoyed this video. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe.